Best 23 for North Melbourne. Backline, Luke McDonald, Aidan Corr, Josh Goda, Harry Sheasel, Griffin Logue, Zach Fisher.
It's a really tough backline to kind of find a really strong group out of. Like Griffin Logue we've got in there, but he's missing probably most of the year with an ACL injury. So you look at maybe a Callan Dawson, a Toby Pink, who they've just picked up as a mature age recruit. So
Sheasel's a lock.
Which, yeah, Sheasel's, you say that, but he could easily be playing midfield or forward line. Like, you'd think he gets another year at halfback, but they bring in Zach Fisher to kind of play a similar role. As mentioned, you got co-captain Luke McDonald down back. Josh Goda, if they're wanting to play a third tall, I think he could probably be that guy. He's probably a little undersized, but his draft year was really good above his head. So, maybe there's probably a mix and match there depending on who they're playing most weeks. And Charlie Combin's one that I think some have flagged as maybe an option they try and down back as a tall defender with, Logue out and Dawson maybe needing to see a little bit more and Toby Pink, not having played AFL footy, he was on Sydney's list for a little bit, but they just don't have that. Some of their depth options like a Miller Bergman, probably could be a starter for sure. Like I think there'll be a few Roos fans that think he's probably in there at halfback as well. So yeah, Sheasel should be resuming that role. But they bring in Zach Fisher, who they've said will be playing off halfback. And then they're tall. So Aidan Corr, probably a starter, just given off circumstance. Like hasn't really ever been the player that they thought they might have been bringing in from GWS, but they just need some stability down there, and hopefully he provides that for them next to a long-term Logue, but short-term it could be Dawson, Pink or Combin.
Yep, absolutely. And the midfield group, so obviously LDU, Taron Thomas, Ajay Simkin, and then on the wings, Dylan Stevens and Bailey Scott.
Yeah, this is it's easily their strongest group, just given how they've attacked the draft over the last half decade or so. LDU could easily be in that top echelon of midfielders next year, along with, if you're talking about the guys that are moving up, it's the Tom Greens and the Noah Andersons, and he's certainly in that mix as well to go to the next level. Taron Thomas is arguably the most exciting out of the lot, though, just given his upside and potential, but we kind of know what comes with him in that package, and it's if he can kind of have a full season, no distractions or issues or off-field matters, then he's going to be a real catalyst in just how well they play next year, and if they can kind of move up a spot or two, which is going to be really hard for them to move, I think, out of the bottom two with not a lot of teams coming down. Jai Simpkin as well, George Wardlaw, Will Phillips, Tom Powell, a lot of nice inside options. Colby McKercher, probably is more likely to play on the wing, but ahead of him you've probably got Dylan Stevens, who they bring in from Sydney, and Bailey Scott, who probably had a really underrated year. I don't think there's maybe from North Melbourne's point of view, they were really happy with him, but I feel like outside of Arden Street, there might not have been as much talk about kind of the year he had for the Roos. So as mentioned, it's easily their strongest area of the field. Add in Tristan Cherry as their ruckman, Hugh Greenwood as a depth option. We've got Callum Coleman-Jones, another rock option. Darcy Tucker's on a wing. If Zane Dersman gets a look, he's probably playing half forward, but another one that might be able to slot onto the wing or through the middle if needed. So not short on options whatsoever, the Roos through midfield. And I think, I don't think Dersma plays round one next year, but I think McKerch is a strong effort for them. So, and then as mentioned before, Harry Sheasel could certainly get a run through the midfield. They've just got, I think, too many for him to be at least starting there, and maybe he'll get a few minutes here and there later into games.
Absolutely. And their forward line, so obviously the main man, Nick Larkey, Curtis Taylor, Eddie Ford, Cam Zurha, Jaden Stevenson, and Paul Curtis.
Yeah, so similar with their back line, just like who the talls are going to be outside of Larkey. Like I said, Charlie Combin we've got on the bench, and he can kind of fill roles at either end of the field if they think that he's got the ability as a key defender. But outside of Larkey, who had 70 plus goals to his name, I think Jaden Stevenson was their next highest with like 20 something, like 23 goals. So they really need to find that next damaging forward. Cam Zurha is probably that guy. A bit of injury issues obviously prevented him from playing out a full season, but they probably want someone a bit taller than him as their next go-to guy. Eddie Ford can probably play a bit taller, a bit like we mentioned with Josh Goda down back. Still probably has them playing a little bit small, but you can move him to the bench and have Charlie Combin as a starting centre half forward. And then, Curtis Taylor, Paul Curtis, as we mentioned, and Stevenson as well. It's not too bad to have around Larky. He probably just needs some taller support, and he's not copping too much in the aerial contests. But ball hits the deck. I think Paul Curtis is probably the most damaging out of the lot. Like, he certainly could surpass Serha next year or potentially or the year after probably. It's just a matter of time, I think, with him getting some confidence in. Tom Powell, we've got as a sub, probably can play a bit more forward than midfield. Zane Dersma could be that next tall forward for them. He's only about 190, so he's more third. But if they can get things clicking with either Combin or Coleman Jones, then Dersma slotting into that kind of group is certainly going to alleviate a lot of pressure on someone like him. So it's the area they need to probably less of a priority than the back line, but the back line's probably more a matter of injury and just trying to get the best out of some players where they really just don't have a heap of tall forwards on standby.
Does Dersma get a look in at all next year?
Yeah,
or is it more of a development?
He should be.
Yeah.
He should be. Like they went through a fair few players over the last season, and he's had some senior experience a little bit already at VFL level and at country footy level. So certainly shouldn't be too hard for him by the back end of the year. And then they've got other guys like Cooper Harvey, Robert Hanson Jr., some other forward options as well. So and then Riley Hardiman is more of a defender, but he's another draftee that I think has a chance to get a couple games under his belt in his first year.
Yep. I think it is going to be very difficult for them to move up the ladder next year. But
it's probably more just about win totals.
Yeah,
like 3 this year. They want to be doubling that.
Yeah.
2 against West Coast, and you'd hope they have to think that they're getting 2 wins there. So you're almost halfway there just alone. They'll have 2 against the Hawks, I think. If they can knock off 1 against Hawthorn, that'll be a big positive result. And then it's they're going to need a few upsets, but that's what you get when you're probably ranked 17th in the comp.
Yeah, sure.